What's up, YouTube? It is day 3 of my 30-day YouTube challenge. Today we're talking about muscle growth. Actually, before we get into it, welcome to New York City. It's a cloudy day today, but it feels amazing outside. There probably is going to be a lot of beeping and a lot of people looking at the camera like, what the hell is this short balding guy doing, just selfie videoing this whole thing? But we're talking about muscle growth today. And specifically, Miguel Mendez tweeted at me yesterday. He said, hey Jordan, what is your favorite training split for muscle growth? What is your favorite training approach for muscle growth, and how many times a week is optimal to train for muscle growth? And first, it's not the sexy answer, it's not the fun answer, but it depends, right? It always depends. What's gonna work best for me is gonna work different for you. What's gonna work best for Karen is gonna work different for Kyle. Everyone's gonna be different. And it depends not only on your goals and your preferences, but also your lifestyle, how busy you are, your training tolerance, your training age, how long you've been working out. Like a beginner is gonna need something very different than an advanced lifter. So there's no one size fits all best. Having said that, let's start with how many times a week. I'll start by saying a beginner lifter, someone who's just starting out within their first 3 to 6 months, they can train 3 times a week with relatively lightweight and not go that hard and still build muscle. It's your newbie gains, it's your body adapting, and those are like the best times ever. If you really hit those times hard, you can make tremendous gains, but they're never really gonna happen again. So if you're just starting out lifting, go hard, because you're never gonna have like that amazing spike at the beginning that like, you're never gonna have it again. That being said, once you get out of that beginner training stage and the gains just go on and on and on and on, and now it's slower and it's not gonna happen every day or every week or even every month, you need more volume and you need more exposure to your muscles in order to actually make the muscle grow. So going from 3 times a week to 4 times a week is a really good progression. One of my all-time favorite training splits, especially for strength, which I understand is not muscle growth, but for strength, is the upper-lower body split. So 4 times a week, you go lower body, upper body, lower body, upper body. My favorite was Monday lower, Wednesday upper, Friday lower, Saturday upper. I would always start Monday lower because Monday's International Bench Press Day. So every time you go to the gym on the Monday, you don't want to bench press because everybody's gonna be bench pressing. So start with lower body on Monday, Wednesday upper body, Friday lower body, Saturday upper body. That's one of my all-time favorites. It works very well. The issue with that split, once you start going from intermediate to high intermediate or even into advanced, is when the goal is muscle hypertrophy, you need more volume over time. You need a lot more volume in order to actually make your muscles grow. In which case, it takes more time. And not only that, you're also lifting more weight. So it takes more time to load the bars, to lift more weight, to get it all set up. So your workouts can go from what was once an hour to then 90 minutes, then to 2 hours. And if that's like, I hate that. Like, I am not gonna spend 2 hours in the gym. So if that's not doable for you, it might be better to then switch to a 5-day-a-week split, where instead of doing upper lower, now you go to upper lower accessory upper lower, right? So maybe you do like lower body, upper body, and then accessory work for whatever body part you want to bring up. It could be your shoulders, it could be your arms, it could be your abs, it could be your glutes. You do accessory work for it, and then you repeat upper lower again. And you can, every training phase, every 4 weeks, you can change what your accessory work is for. For phase 1, maybe it's your arms. For phase 2, maybe it's your shoulders. For phase 3, maybe it's your glutes. That accessory day is really up to you. It's like, who is banging? It's that bell right there. There's no right or wrong with that. What I will say is, for that accessory day, it's not meant to be very heavy. It's not like max weight. It's more lighter weight, more repetitions to get more of a volume approach rather than trying to lift as heavy as you can. So to clarify, I actually have one more. So that's the 5-day-a-week split, upper, lower, accessory, upper, lower. But then you can go to a 6-day-a-week split. Personally, I don't like this one. I don't like going to the gym 6 days a week, number 1, so it's not gonna work for me. And number 2, it tends to be more of a body part isolation as opposed to a movement. So day 1 might be arms, day 2 might be chest, day 3 might be back. I just don't like that approach. It's not interesting to me. It doesn't mean it's bad. It works very well. It works very well. It's incredible. It's incredibly effective. I just don't like it. I prefer to really focus more on movements as opposed to muscle groups, but that's just my own personal preference. I know a lot of people who are just some of the world all-time best physique competitors and people with extraordinary physiques, lots of muscle, have used that approach. So if you like going to the gym 6 times a week, 7 times a week, that might be a good thing to try. What I want to say, and I think this is one of the most important parts of this video, is just because something on paper looks like the best, I don't know why I'm doing this so much, but something on paper looks like the best approach, does not mean that it's going to be the best for you. And I say that because here's one of my favorite quotes of all time. Doing something consistently good will always be better than doing something inconsistently great. And what I mean by that is, let's say you have a 6-day-a-week training program and you can only make the full 6 days 60 to 70% of the time. You're not going to get the best results on that program, even if that 6-day-week program is, we'll say, more effective on paper than a 4-day-week program. I would put a lot of money on you getting better results from following a 4-day-week program 100% than following a 6-day-week program 60%. And it's really, really, really important, because I know a lot of people, they get so caught up in what is on paper best, and that ruins their progress, because they try and do what they think is going to be optimal, and in the end, when their lifestyle doesn't support it, when they're not in a time where they can actually make that happen, I know for a fact I'm not going to make 6 days a week in the gym happen. I'm not going to do it. I would rather do something outside. I'd rather go box. I'd rather do something else than be in the gym 6 days a week in terms of just straight up lifting. So I know I'm not going to do that. I have clients who, they have several kids and they work 2 jobs. They're not going to do 6 days a week in the gym. They're going to get better results from 4 days a week. And that's totally fine. I think it's a really important piece to remember in terms of the best. So we covered how many days a week you should be training, anywhere between 3 to 6. There's no reason to go 7 days a week. The newer you are to strength training, the less you can train. 3 days a week for the beginners, up to 4, 5, 6 to the advanced. Now, Miguel asked another question, aside from how often you should train, how many days. He said, what is my favorite training approach for muscle growth? And my favorite training split. And I sort of explained that in terms of, for 3 times a week, you could do a full body split, just full body 3 times. You could do an upper body, lower body, full body. For 4 times a week, you do the upper lower. 5 times a week, upper lower, accessory, upper lower. 6 times a week, more body part focused every time. They all work very well. Outside of that approach, there's other approaches as well. There's linear periodization, there's conjugated periodization, there's undulating periodization. There's many different types of approaches. And I mean, there are seminars that could go for full days, weekends, just talking about all the different approaches. My personal favorite, I'm gonna explain sort of how I would structure a workout for this. The first movement of the day should be actually, I'm gonna backtrack. I was about to say the first movement of the day should be your heaviest lift. So let's say it's a lower body day, start with a really heavy deadlift. But what I wanna change to is, that's what I would do if my goal is pure raw strength. If the goal is more muscle growth, it means you need more overall total volume, you need more mechanical tension, you need more metabolic stress, and it helps to get your motor units firing more. And that basically, the practical application is, maybe instead of starting your day off with a very heavy lift, start your day off with something more activation based, whether if it's a lower body day, maybe do light hamstring curls for 2 to 3 sets of 20 reps, just to really blow up your hamstrings, get the blood flowing in them. If it's an upper body day, maybe doing a seated dumbbell shoulder press, really lightweight, but 2 to 3 sets of 20. Or seated lateral shoulder raises, or if it's more of an arm day, curls, whatever it is, starting with a lighter movement, more isolated movement to flush the muscle with blood. Then you could go to a heavier lift. So starting off with 2 to 3 sets of, 12 to 20 repetitions is good to flush it with blood, really get it firing, get the motor units firing, to get enough, to get a lot of, get the blood and the nutrients within the muscle. Then you go to a heavier lift, let's say lower body day. Let's say lower body day, you start off with a glute bridge, 2 sets of 20. Flush your glutes with blood, really get them firing. Then you go to a deadlift, 4 sets of 6. Then you go to a superset of hamstring curls and leg press. And what we'll say is, so for the deadlift, it's heavy. Well, 4 sets of 6. It's not gonna be 90% 1 rep max, but it's gonna be like 80, 85%. Taking about 3 minutes rest in between sets, 2 to 3 minutes. Then you go to, as you progress from the heavier lift to then you're gonna go lighter and lighter and lighter, the rest periods will drop and the reps are gonna go up. So let's say the deadlift is 4 sets of 6, then you might go to hamstring curls for 3 sets of 8 or 3 sets of 10. And instead of resting for 3 minutes, then you rest for 90 seconds in between sets. Then from hamstring curls, maybe you'll go to, could go to anything. You go to, we'll call it, people are like, what is this guy doing? From hamstring curls, we could go to leg extensions if you wanted to. You could go to hip thrust, single leg hip thrust, back extensions. But then you go from what was 10 reps, maybe you go to 3 sets of 12 reps or 15 reps. And now the rest goes from 90 seconds to 75 seconds or 60 seconds. You can even superset it. Maybe you do leg extensions supersetted with back extensions. And you have no rest in between, and then you have a minute rest after you complete both of them for 12 reps, 15 reps apiece. To break this down, it basically goes, you start off with a lighter weight exercise movement to activate it, flush it with blood, really get it burning. Then you go to heavier, then progressively lighter over time, and less rest as you go. So starting with 3 minutes rest for the really heavy, then maybe 90 seconds, then a minute, and then maybe even less than a minute after that. And the point being to, as you go through the workout, to go from very heavy to lighter, from more compound movements to more isolated movements. That's really the sum and substance of my favorite training approach for muscle growth. And the difference between that and muscle strength really lies a lot in, for strength, you don't need as much total volume. It's a lot more intensity based. Whereas instead of doing so much more volume per muscle, you do a lot more intensity based to get the most strength out of your movement. That being said, and this is getting another tangent, there's a lot to be said for a bigger muscle having a potential to be a stronger muscle. And that's where I think a lot of people fall short, where they only focus on strength. And when you only focus on strength, you miss out on the potential abilities of creating a bigger muscle, which can have the potential for more force and a stronger muscle in the long run. So, this is scattered, but I hope it made sense. Most important thing to understand is there is no best strategy. There is no one size fits all. It's gonna completely depend on your preferences, your lifestyle, your needs. It's gonna change throughout your training life. When you start off as a beginner, all the way to advanced, what you're doing for work, what you're doing for just everyday life, if you're traveling a lot, if you're tired, if you have kids, this is all gonna change what's best for you. What works best for you now might not work best for you in 5 years, and that's okay. Don't get locked into one method. Find what works best for you on a consistent basis. And when you can find that, and you can continue to get stronger, focus on lifting more weight, doing more reps with a certain weight, perfecting your technique, really focusing on feeling the muscle do the work, you're gonna get stronger and your muscles are gonna grow. That's really it. Don't overcomplicate it too much. Get stronger, do more reps with a certain weight, perfect your technique, increase your range of motion. These are all ways to then stress the muscle further in a good way so it will continue to grow and get stronger. I hope this helps. Any questions, let me know. Have a wonderful day.